Let's have a look at Thursday, the 30th of July. This is the day after the full moon. It's also the day after the Jupiter Cazimi, and it's quite an exhausting day. I mentioned, if we just like quickly go back, you can see how many different things we were juggling with on Wednesday. And we had the Jupiter Cazimi pretty much throughout the whole day. It's 18 hours from start to finish. And that was our opportunity, our yearly reminder to think big, think bigger, dream big, ask yourself something really quite magnificent, and to stand for your growth and stand for your ease and stand for that feeling of, magnificence within your body. So, I don't know how you've used this particular day. I don't know if you can notice, but I'm actually standing. So I've moved my whole desk up because my new thing is to stand. I sit a lot doing these forecasts. So from now on in, I'm going to be standing and moving around a little bit, jiggling a little bit. And so what we're coming to on Thursday is integration. That's the main that's the main energy of today. We've got a lot to integrate, honestly. With the North Node that's just gone into Aquarius, you can't actually see this here because astro.com has actually defaulted to the mean node, but the true node is actually now in the sign of Aquarius. We have also been integrating the moon and Pluto, which is really talking about our level of personal power. Like I said, I want to feel more powerful in my body. And so that's really come up for me around the time of the full moon, and hence my now standing desk. And also with Jupiter in a conjunction with the sun, how are you using that energy? What did you choose to do, if anything? So yeah, very, very big energies. And of course, these energies were also reiterating the work that you've already started doing from mid-July in terms of the boat, or of course the basket. This was a real sort of harmoniousness. And, what I've noticed is it's been possible for me to see where I've been resisting myself, where I've been resisting suggestions, where I've been resisting maybe what my common sense has been saying. This is a time also, I think, when if you've been hesitating on something and you've not been able to start something that maybe you said you were going to do, then maybe there's a reason for it. And, I absolutely think that, those reasons are coming out thick and fast right now. We get to see why we've delayed in some respects. And I always think that those delays serve us because something bigger is coming up for us. And that's definitely my sense of this energy. So Thursday then, what's really going on? Well, again, I'm going to actually hook into what's happened earlier in the week. So on Sunday, Saturn started his retrograde, and he's going to be retrograding now, I think, until just before the end of the year. And so he's retrograding in the sign of Aries. Now, Saturn in Aries is really talking about where we are ready to take physical action on something and really move on something, and move on something that feels like, it's your responsibility, like it's on your shoulders, like there's something that you need to do. Now, in the retrograde position, it's a lot more reflective. It's a lot more inward. So whereas earlier this year, you might have been thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to take responsibility for this. And that might involve some hard work, and that might involve a step-by-step approach. Something that's quite visible for everybody to see and for you to see in evidence. But now it's retrograde. The energy has really shifted. And now it's time for us to recognize that actually we can go through massive shifts internally. And these are quite silent shifts. Nobody gets to see them. You get to understand them. And you might only see the results within your body. Aries is very much about the physical body and the identity. And so I think actually what's coming up over the next 4 months or so on this Saturn retrograde journey is we're getting ready to play with our identity a little bit and to make bold decisions for ourselves, ones that we're not seeking acceptance from other people. We're not seeking validation from people. It's really our own inward journey. Now, what I like about tomorrow, I'm recording this on the day of the full moon. What I really like about Thursday, the 30th, is that the moon is in a sextile with Saturn. And what that is saying to me, like, sextiles are busy, and they create opportunities. Like, they're not they're not aspects to be idle with. They're energies to thrive with and to enjoy yourself, and to feel that the wheels of creation are moving again. And so the moon and Saturn is about, I think, talking to your inner child, your inner self, and also talking to the elderly side of you, or the responsible side of you. And the conversations could go a little bit like this, maybe the Saturn is you in the future. You might imagine, and this is like a little bit of homespun timeline therapy, if you're up for it. You might talk to a future version of you that's already achieved everything that you've ever wanted. And you might talk to them from your childlike state, or your state right now, and to ask them. Obviously, this is taking place in your imagination, but I think what comes out is often very, very telling. But you might ask yourself, how did you get there? What was your first, what did you first notice that symbolized you'd made a change? How steady was it? How can I make my progress even steadier if I was to do it again? So it's a little bit like time travel. So the moon in this sextile with Saturn retrograde, I think, even though it's quite fleeting, it comes in over the course of half a day, and then it eases off, and it's exact. There's a moment where it's exact, even though it's like it moves quite quickly. I absolutely recommend that you take some time to honor the childlike energy in yourself, and also the adult-like energy in yourself, and find some ways to get those talking. It's a little bit like the idea of people connecting through different generations. So right now, if you know people who are boomers or Gen X's, and or if Gen Alphas, Gen Z's, millennials, you might notice that there are very different ways of expressing ourselves, very different points of view. And actually those different points of view is actually what we need. You see, Aquarius is very future oriented. Both Aquarius and Sagittarius are very future oriented there, because once they feel safe, and once they feel like they're in a creative process, they're feeling into their truth, then it kind of, these signs naturally start to build and naturally start to wonder about the future. And so this is where future older you can come in and give you some advice, or maybe just hang out with your favorite older friend. I think that's also a really beautiful thing to do. We've also got the moon in a trine with Mars later on in the day. This is going to help us feel into our strength, where we might realize, actually, I've got a lot more strength than I realized. I'm much better off. Maybe you realize that you've been putting yourself down, or underestimating yourself. So this is a moment in time where you realize you've actually got all the pieces really laid out, which I think is nice. Now, later on in the day still, the moon is going to come into a conjunction with the new true north node position in the sign of Aquarius. And then as we're going into Friday, the moon is also going to be making a conjunction with the north node. I didn't put either of them on here just because I recognize that if you're in one part of the world and another, you might go, oh my God, that's not happening. But trust me, it is happening. I've checked twice on the ephemeris. the moon is going to be connecting with, the true north node in Aquarius, and then going into connect with the mean north node. Now, I don't think you have to pick and choose which one is most important to you. Suffice to say, I would say there's a very sort of blended meaning at the moment. The mean node in Pisces is encouraging us to recognize over Thursday and into Friday that we are cosmic beings, and our journey is to be cosmic. But as the moon connects for the very first time with the north node in Aquarius, I think our future thoughts are really strong on our mind. This is really sharply focusing us into something that feels like you're doing good, and there's a very strong purpose. So I hope that's helpful for you. As we move into Friday, again, there's not so much, but I'm sure something's going to come forward as I focus in on it tomorrow. So I will be back tomorrow for more. So have a beautiful Thursday. rest up after the full moon. Full moons can get very tiring, especially like the day after, because at night we still see the full moon shining through our windows. So go easy with yourself. Don't be rushing into anything. But yeah, this is absolutely a day for integration. Lots of love to you. Take care and catch you real soon. Bye for now.